Hello and welcome to the Ranch Shop. This is a How I See It edition, my daily journal on Friday, May 17th, 2019. So obviously I got up, went to work, had band practice last night, went pretty well, but I stayed up a little late, felt a little shitty all day, but my fault, right? But so I was just thinking today, I'm like I told you, I'm always listening to different type of shit. I get sick of listening to politics sometimes and just think about whatever, just because I gotta always be doing something. Uh, so I was thinking about money, and I'm like, trying to figure out oldest money they know of. And so I'm just, I got my wireless headphones on, and I got YouTube, and it plays on my phone, and I'm finding out that oldest currency that they found is like 4,000 years old, and it's on a piece of clay tablet, and probably stamped out, and according to what scientists say. Um, Only the people that made the note could even read what was on it, because back then they're all supposed to be stupid according to what they tell you, even though we've built things thousands of years before that we don't even know how they did it. So they couldn't read, they couldn't, whatever. Just whole history is unbelievable. So anyway, I'm just money, because I'm trying to in my mind fix the problem of money, and can't say that I think money's the problem. I've always said people's the problem. See, I'm trying to change my own mind that people aren't the problem. So, I try to get as much information from everywhere. So I'm thinking it's 4,000 years old, and we're looking back 200 years where, your colonies and stuff are coming in, but 4,000 years. So you're supposed to even be dumber than the colonial people that didn't know how to read or write. And then I'm going back and just watching things. Next thing you know, you get your wormhole, and I've always been into ancient aliens, and I know Quebec Tepe that they've got that's 18,000 years old, and no scientist wants to say it because back then they were only supposed to be hunter gatherers, whatever. We're still finding today little tribes. There's been places that remote, and they're trying to hide things from me because I've studied some of the different religions, and recently I've since they got audiobooks and on YouTube, guitar listen stuff, I'm probably about, I think I'm on segment 3. So the New Testament is like 6 11-hour segments, and I've gotten through 2 1/4 of them. So I'm probably 27 hours in, something like that, 26 hours. So, and then I've watched all the ancient alien stuff that they're always trying to bring back, and I know a lot of old philosophy and just different gods and this and that and all the different things, but sometimes they all kind of say the same thing, and then you find out there's a 400,000-year-old cave that is like rooted down 20 some levels. Not stupid hunter gatherers couldn't make that. And I found out, in a layer that, all the Bibles, all the different religions say there was a great flood, and they all say they lived, but yet certain religions say only one person lived. Now, I've always said, I believe there is a God, something bigger than us. I guess I don't understand, or I'm not interpreting what they're saying. I'm having people interpret it in their own way, because it's kind of freaking me out. I used to go to church, and I think we learned most of the New Testament, and I've heard like phrases of like some of the New Testament. They'll bring out like a little piece, but they don't tell you the whole story. And most of it's narrated really well, so it's not a bad listening to. So I would suggest to anybody that just go, like I just Google searched Bible audiobook, and I can start the New Testament, and then I can get into whatever. And I've done Buddhist and all the other religions, so I kind of know the interpretation of the interpreter they gave to it. But this is like read from the book, not an interpretation, so I get to interpret it myself. And it's very interesting because I don't know how many years it's supposed to have been when he created the earth and the heavens, and he put the Adam and Eve and the whole thing. And then it gets in, goes through and talks about sons and this and that, and they're talking about people and saying things like him and he had two wives and they were sisters, and the one couldn't bear a child, and so because she felt that she wasn't favored by the other woman, God let um, God is letting us. They're saying God let him bang her servant to have a baby, should be hers, and basically she had like two or three babies. So did the other sister, and then all of a sudden God let her be able to have babies, and she had a baby, and it was just one of many weird, odd stories, and how daughters are supposed to be laying with the father because she needs to bear the bloodline of the child because somebody, pissed God off, and it seemed like he was really judgmental on everybody. And they keep saying something about he's a jealous God or whatever, so just kind of thinking people and things, and they made kingdoms as we've gone on hours and hours, and then they changed where you can't lay with your immediate family, which I would see why, because you'd be a bunch of inbred, and then everybody else say we go back to Adam and Eve, however your genealogy goes. And I think the whole genealogy gives you puppies and sunshines and over glamatize it so you'll keep feeding the money. We're all related to people who did shit that had nothing to do with shit. Just because you're somewhere doesn't make you whatever. But people buy into that stuff too. It's just like in a religion, anything. But so then I like teetered off, knowing what I've heard in all this and the times and the other religions and the Anunnakis and all that. And they're 12 gods or 10 gods, and that shit's like 40,000 years ago. And they built temples that are 40,000 years ago. They had to use some kind of high-speed drilling. They just, like I said, found 400,000-year-old caves. 400,000. They're looking at layers and different species, and they found a fossil of one that they just pulled up that I read, and I can't recall. If you guys are real interested, I'll look it back up or find where I heard it. The DNA, some of it wasn't from this world. Every religion believes in some kind of God, something come from the sky. But some of them, even the Bible, these people were living long times, like thousands of years. And then they try to play it off with this. It's your... No. Thousands of years. Then something after, like Noah's flood, people started not living as long. But now I'm talking a flood before Noah's flood. Besides all the other religions saying, and these people survived. And when Noah's flood, somebody from every religion survived. But it was one man, so I think it was more than one man, but it was made to say, selected few, if that's the way you interpret it. Don't know. They're finding archaeology and stuff, some nice carvings, but you got a guy that interprets it, what these signs mean, and is that really what it means? I know if thousands and thousands of years ago, I was a smart fucker and I knew we were getting to blow the earth up or whatever happened, or alien fire, who knows, asteroid, God made these big floods or did something. We want to go underground bomb shelter, so why wouldn't you build stuff? Or, something, then you die off and you start over, and it's these, and it's the knowledge transfer, and you lose and you have to start over. And now we're at a point, if you look back at the king's time and stuff, there's always been bloodlines and kings. No matter, since man's been here, we've fought against each other, and there's always somebody that wants to control everybody else, whether you call him a god, demagogue, whatever, somebody always wants to control. So even if we get rid of the money issue, somebody's going to want to be the alpha man in control, whether it's animals do it where they're fighting for the bride, humans do it. Nobody is ever going to be happy. Even the kings, when they have everything, aren't happy. Because if I had everything, why would I be so miserable? But you have to have some kind of way to control the people. Control your dictatorship, or we're called a government, whatever, but his kingdom. And basically, most of us are slaves. Even that king is a slave. Because we were made to to um, to do something. We weren't made to sit around and veg and, just, we were made to create, to do things. Then once you get too many people together, it becomes, you get lazy people. It's like, that's where laws and all that come in. And I'm sure there's 5 or 6 families that the bloodline goes back to kings that control the banks. Even the federal government isn't ran by the federal government. The Federal Reserve, no, it's a banking scam. But these people are smart and they know how to control people. Fortunately, they have to control. I'm not saying I agree how they're doing it. I don't have no way to fix it, because the more I think about it, the more I know that people are involved. You can learn how to control the masses, but there's always the exception. The problem is the exception sometimes might be in these governments or kingdoms around the world, and there might be somebody controlling all that's even bigger than them. They're outside the law, above the law. So you get into the news that this is higher level than whatever. You can call it what you want. Somebody always wants to control everything. No matter how rich a person gets, they're still not satisfied because somebody's richer. And then once you get full power, it's no longer money, you have power. So you're president, but he's not. There's so much BS going around, which is purposely done. But we still have to control the people. So even if you got rid of money and everybody just said, fuck it, how do you control people? You have to control. We have so many people that if everybody, let's spread everybody out and give them all an acre plot. All over the world, free. There's no money. Those people got to produce everything they want. You can't build an iPhone all by yourself. You can't build cars. Let's say, oh, I don't need it. You won't have electricity, video games. Who's going to run the grid? You're going to have to get up every day, and if you're a meat eater, go kill a thing, dress it, go. Make sure you find enough wood to chop for your fireplace, because you're not going to be having thing. You want vegetables, you're also going to have to take care of your garden. You're going to have to hope it doesn't ever snow and kill that, because then you have to store for the winter. So that's a lot of fucking work. So if one person just makes corn and one person makes green, and that's what they do all day, and have a couple people that don't do anything but work there, all right, so how do you get the people to do it without some kind of currency or trade? And then the reason why government and laws come into place is everybody has that one asshole. You might even be the asshole. So you put laws into place, so we're going to pay money to take care of the asshole that ain't doing nothing. And he'll never do anything and ain't good at it. But we used to breed not to have a lot of assholes. And now we breed and don't care that we're breeding with assholes. A girl thinks he's good looking, he could be a loser, and she knows he ain't going to stick around. She's going to have 4 kids with him. Just good looks might come to the kids, but they could all become losers. So can you really get rid of money? I don't think that you can. I just just in everything I look at is always fighting amongst people. It's always something about power. I just seen a thing the other day that said Elvis was a pedo, which wasn't his wife like young when he married her anyway. So it was like blatantly obvious in today's terms that he was. But back then maybe it didn't matter. 100 years ago you got married at 13, started your family because you died at 42. Back in Bible days you lived 2,000 years. Back in Anunnaki days, they had writings of generations before them ruling for 20,000 years. Not ruling bloodline, but a ruler for 20 that are gods, demigods. They call them all kinds of shit. I don't know. It's an interpretation of what they're seeing in the ground. But some of these buildings and structures are pretty badass, and so I just I was thinking about money. It took me down wormholes, and it's it just amazes me that the perspective you can get from different people, and that anytime they try to, even like the pyramids. They're saying, well, obviously they all know that they believe the face was changed on the Sphinx or whatever by later settlers that come there, and they were dating it like 3,000, and like I might have mentioned before in some discussion with somebody, they're saying they might be like 20,000 because they were saying the erosion is from like the sand, and the sand wouldn't cause the erosion, either a rain climate that went on for thousands of years or a big storm that went on, for a smaller thing of time, but that it used to rain where the pyramid was. So scientists don't want to change their mind because then everything they told you would be wrong, and everybody wants the CYA, and sometimes they find discoveries that will change religions, and they won't let you know because, gotta remember, religious places were like your first central government. That's how they tried to rule it, and then they broke them away from church and state in most countries. It's all kind of a way to control and take your money to pay for them to do nothing, the rulers, but without some kind of thing to keep us all doing what we need to support each other. Because once you're at a point where people aren't mating with people that are smart and intelligent, hardworking, this is the kind of person we want, and this is how we want them brought up, and start just reproducing just to reproduce because we don't care if we have to stay together. We don't care if we produce and you want to be a girl when you're really a boy and a boy and a girl, not to produce, just to produce burdens, I guess, So that's why you end up with this big fat fucking thing we got. Could we get rid of money? But then there'd be repercussions what you did. When you knocked up that girl, you didn't get to do it to 9 more of them. You were responsible for the welfare of that. I mean, we're not taught that anymore, I don't know. Responsibility. I'm not perfect, but I'm saying everyone's never. You get what you learn from your parents, but your society now is just, it blows my mind what's going on. It can't be real what's going on in politics right now. I mean, I've always known it's politics, but they could pretty much say anything, any lie, and don't get checked on one side, and the other side is done with a fine-tooth comb. Even though both sides are just as bad when the other side's in, but it's ferocious now. It's everywhere. Everybody's unhappy. I mean, it's true, you work for the man, but I'm trying to explain to you why you have to, because you couldn't do it on your own. And without a currency, I don't know how you're going to break the rich people. It's just going to, basically, you might have more money and not pay any taxes, but if a lot of people, wasn't still working, you have to have a reason to go to work. And if everybody just says, fuck it, I got enough money now, I think it would cause a back off, because then once you give somebody more, they wouldn't work as hard. And if people aren't currently working, I don't think, well, maybe if they were starving, they'd go to work. Maybe the generosity of people, but, even when church gives you money, unlike a welfare, if a church gives you money because you're hard on times, and they know you're an alcoholic and you got to a point and then said you quit drinking, they might help you. But if you kept coming back drunk, asking for help, eventually they would stop. Welfare doesn't do that. Once you're on, you're on. Doesn't get re-reviewed. You sign it might. Paperwork costs more money for people, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to fix it. I just know it's getting crazy in the mainstream. Crazy. And it's known, it's coming out that it was so deliberate. I think what's going to happen is they're all going to just act like they're all ignorant and didn't follow protocol. Like, oops, we should have done this but didn't do it. And then point the finger at the other guy. Well, and it's going to be a big nothing burger. I think a few people go to jail. We all know it goes back to Obama. But do I know that people are going to pay for it? I don't know. But people are off the hinge. There's stuff about everything. I mean, every issue you could possibly imagine, they're bringing up. These, it's just what they're doing is crazy. Anyway, that's how I see it. Shit I learned today. Have a good weekend.